us to use code names. If it's possible that you can share with us and the people of South Africa that who are these who are these people who are part of the big five who are actually running drug cartels in the country and possibly controlling some of the institutions of government.
Honorable Chair and members, I'm not sure whether the members have the statement that should have annexed on this statement, which is a statement that I presented before the Madlanga Commission. If I were to invite the members, maybe I think it's ATAS NSM3, if I'm not mistaken.
Which volume, General?
I'm trying to figure out now these volumes myself. Just give me a second, Honorable Chair.
They say it's volume 3. So it's NSM what? Did you get the page?
It should be on my statement. And I don't know which volume is it.
It's volume 3.
Volume 3 or 3.1. So
what is the page number? Do you have it evidence later?
Page number. Okay, I want to invite the members on that volume 1, NMS 3, to open page 83. Page 83. So in paragraph 275.
Let me just check with you. Okay, you can proceed, General.
Okay, honorable members, Chair, to answer the question of the honorable member, I think it's important to look at that sketch that we've put in there in the statement. You are asking who are these big fives. We can only talk about the big five of those that are already arrested and they are in court. Those that have not been arrested, unfortunately, we're not in a liberty to talk about them. You will see that the big five on this graph are those that are marked with red on that picture on the left. So that whole group, the only names that we are making it visible here are the 2 names.
Okay.
And that's a name of a Vusmus Matlala, who is known as Cat, as well as Katiso Molefe. Both individuals have been to court, and I think you are privy to the court processes related to their cases. We have the other 3 that we did not reflect here. They are known. Their names are known. I must say, honorable chair and members, these are tenderpreneurs. These are the people that the government has been awarding tenders to. They are quite big financially. They are part of this whole lot. We did not put their names because we did not want to implicate people before they appear before court, except the others. The place that we feel comfortable to talk about it, we name the names. And the others that we're not comfortable with, we did not put the names.
That's fine, General. That's acceptable. You say there is an involvement of the judiciary in all this fracas. But in that process, you mentioned only one fellow magistrate, Mahlangu. Are there any other magistrates or judges? Because when you say the judiciary, we include the two. Any other magistrates or judges that are suspected to be aiding this alleged criminal syndicate? And in respect of Magistrate Mahlangu, what is her links in the entire syndicate?
Honorable members, again, I don't want to go deeper into the status of the investigation, who's who in this whole puzzle. Therefore, I'm not even talking about the names of people that are part of the criminal activities. I said when I addressed that they are presiding officers, which are members of the judiciary, that are participating in these illegal activities. And it's not one and not two. And I confine myself to this criminal investigation. That's why I made a reference to those that are in Gauteng province. So I'm not going to call them by names. The magistrate that you are talking about, although I did not call him by name, I mentioned the magistrate because he's presiding over the matter that is in court already, has got to do with the arrest of these members and the bail condition that was granted. So it's that which I'm only highlighting, that you have a magistrate that sits and listens to what the state is asking for, and then the magistrate come up with his own rules, his own rulings, contrary to what the state has asked for, and more stringent things. Then you ask yourself a question, but why? Why do you have to go to this extent, magistrate? And these are the questions that, when things like this happen, it makes us to go deeper to try and establish exactly what then is the role of this individual in this whole investigation that you are busy with. So I have not called his name, and I have not called any presiding officer's name. And those details will be made visible by the team if they're so willing, but it cannot be done in the open meeting.
Thank you, General. I think we'll skip the next three questions because they are related to what the General is talking about, an ongoing investigation. So as it relates to the judiciary and the link to the crime syndicates, we'll just keep it, maybe we'll deal with it when time allows. Let's go back to, you say there is a prosecutor who has submitted an application for a warrant of arrest to a magistrate for it to be signed, but later called that warrant must be withdrawn because he or she does not want to lose her job. Do you mind sharing with the committee and the people of South Africa, who is this prosecutor? From whom did they get this call? Who apparently is this powerful person who might be aiding some of the wrong things within the criminal justice system? And you'll forgive me, General. I said that some of the questions I'm asking because I'm the chair of justice. So they are part of the mandate that we've been given.
Yeah, I'm going to invite Honorable Chair. There are quite a lot of information that might need to be revealed by the team that is busy with the investigation that experienced that, because I received the report. I said on my statement when I started that information I'm presenting before the ad hoc committee is information that I saw on my own eyes, information that I was authorized to have access to, and information that was shared to me by my colleagues as they are working. So some of the things I might not necessarily give it to you in black and white, for instance, to give you the name of the magistrate. But I'm confident that those members whom their names I can give you, that were involved, they can come before this committee, and I will request that it can be done in a closed meeting where they can tell you exactly who the magistrate are, because those are the members that are from counterintelligence. So I wouldn't want them to be then coming before cameras here and exposing themselves as coming from counterintelligence. because man, their lives will be in danger. But they will come and give you a sworn statement about what transpired on the day. And subsequent to that, what then was the intervention that was done with the National Director of Public Prosecution? And subsequent to that, what happened? Who are the advocates who were part of that meeting? And what was the discussion in that meeting? And how was it resolved?
Okay. On the 6th of July, in the press briefing, which is annexed here as SM3, in the NSM3 in the annexures, the statement of the 6th of July. You kept on mentioning correctional services, but as time goes, you don't go deeper as it relates to who are these officials within correctional services, and what is their link and their role in aiding the operations of the crime syndicate?
Honorable members, as part of the investigation, without putting people's names, I made an example of, and which is a public knowledge that you all know about. The Minister of Correctional Service, the National Commission of Correctional Service, they always conduct raids at correctional facilities. And when they do those raids, they always come up with illicit goods that are not supposed to be in there. We are still trying to figure out how does Thabo Bester get out of prison and he'll end up in a foreign country. This is a typical example of how bad the system is within the correctional service. We've got a lot of examples on how crime is organized behind bars, how people get killed by people that are behind bars, that get released to go out and murder someone and come back into correctional facility. So what we cited as an example when we made our presentation is that Ye is one of the big fives, Mr. Matlala, is arrested and is detained at the maximum prison of our country, in Pretoria, Kgosi, but is caught with a cell phone inside that facility. So that cell phone, for sure, was not dropped from the sky to get into the courtyard for him to get it. It was facilitated by someone within the correctional facility to have access to it. So we cited that one example, but we're not going to elaborate more of the other people that have had access to that correctional facility to come and see these arrested people and been assisted by the officials within. Some other items that have been given to these people that are arrested of the Big Five, facilitated by individuals within correctional facilities. So that's why I said I'm not going to go deeper into naming the names, who is doing what and who's doing what, because that is part of the criminal investigation that you're busy with. I just highlighted some of the examples in there. But as I was talking about this investigation, I was confining myself in Gauteng. But it's a problem across the country. South Africans will tell you that. Across the board, you have that problem. As the human rights allow for people that are in custody to have visiting rights, amongst others, the same human rights then allows illegal activities to happen, because then there's exchange of monies and the likes that are happening, while people are supposed to be taken away from society.
Okay. Is it the evidence of the general that the attempt to de-establish the political killings system was unwarranted? Most importantly, because the executive authority did not solicit a formal briefing from the management of the police service, and also because the political killings system has made a very great impact in terms of fighting political killings of politicians, traditional leaders, and the sort.
That's exactly. The minister, who's the executive authority over the South African Police Service, come from KwaZulu-Natal. The very same province where this problem exists. The very same province that was a cause of the formation of this team. The minister, having that experience of coming from that province, he goes against his own boss, the President of the Republic, who publicly on the 18th of May says these political killings must stop. And the minister goes out public and he says the political killings ended in 94. There's nothing like that now. So you then ask yourself a question, but what makes the executive authority to even say things against what his boss is saying in public? And he has confidence to do that. On top of that, the minister has not received an advice, a briefing from the national commissioner or the executive authority within the police. Disabling so, honorable chair and members, is that the very same act, the members of this parliament felt it is important to establish the civilian secretariat within the South African Police Service. And that civilian secretariat, I feel there's a DG there. And I feel the ministry does not make use of the DG. Because part of the responsibility of the DG, as contained in the Police Act, is to give legal advice to the minister, is to guide the minister about the do's and the don'ts. But if that DG was invited by the minister to brief him or seek advice before he signs such letters, we wouldn't be here today. The ignorance of that office of the executive secretariat of the police is part of the contribution that leads us into the wrong decision taken by the minister. He might not have been briefed by police management, but at least the DG at the civilian secretary will have briefed him, because there's a responsibility of that DG. But it looked like the minister did not take advice from all those people. I do not know whether the DG did brief him or not. Perhaps he must be invited to come here and say whether did he brief the minister before he signed that letter or not. Because the Act, Police Act, gives the DG the responsibility to advise the minister.
General, is it your evidence that a successful de-establishment of the political killings task team and a successful removal of the 121 dockets from KwaZulu-Natal to Pretoria would have definitely resulted into an abortion of justice?
It's exactly what has happened has resulted into that. Although the dockets are back in KZN, but we are sitting with a lot of complaints already from our clients out there, because there was an obstruction that happened as a result of that decision.
General, thank you very much. No further questions, Your Worship.
Honorable Sokanyile, are you covered? Okay, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me greet you, the honourable members, and the invitees. Good morning, General.
Sabonama.
General, when we talk about the PKTT, you're saying that it was very much successful. Then the PKTT was established. But before that, the president, when he visited Mr. Msawenkosi Mkhunu, visiting that family because Msawenkosi Mkhunu was assassinated, then he saw that political killings have escalated. Then he formed the interministerial committee. Then you have the interministerial committee that is there formed by the president, who established the PKTT, having the interministerial committee and the National Commissioner. I'll tell you why after you have answered me. If you can just give me an answer. Who established that PKTT?
Is the National Commissioner.
So the PKTT was established by the National Commissioner, then the cabinet. It introduced the Interministerial Committee. Then, so its disbandment, it should have been done by the National Commissioner, not by the minister, because the minister had no jurisdiction. Because to me, that interministerial committee was chaired by the Minister of SAPS. And that ministerial committee played an oversight role to the PKTT. If it played an oversight role, then there was a directive that should come to the IMC saying that you can stop here. Don't do that after having those meetings, even though you have said that they were not meeting frequently, even though they had to meet if there was something urgent. Then can you give me, do the Interministerial Committee give directives, or was it allowed, or the directives, they were coming to the National Commissioner, to the PKTT?
That is correct. The National Commission one will give directive what needs to be done.
Then, in the meetings now, if the IMC is having a meeting, then it will be surely it will be the National Commissioner who will bring a report and who will go out and communicate. So in other words, it means that the Minister of SAPS, even though he was chairing the IMC, had no jurisdiction to talk to the PKTT.
That is correct. The ministers they can engage just about everyone they want to engage with. They can talk to every member. However, when they take strategic decision of this nature, it has to follow the chain of command first, and secondly, it has to be decisions that are within their delegation of authority. I must indicate, Honorable Chair and honorable members, that the Minister of Police at the time when this IMC was functioning well was Gerald Cele. Gerald Cele is an ex-police commissioner. Gerald Cele, I'm sure everyone knows, is a very active person that wants to get involved with a lot of things, and most of them end up being operational. It is Gerald Cele to have expected to have done something like this because of his energy that he has in terms of policing, but he did not. He still respected the National Commissioner. So each time he will come to the province, and even he happens to be in KZN and he wants a briefing of something, he will not phone an investigator and say, come and tell me about what's happening somewhere there. He will phone one of us, either the National Commission, myself, he will always tell me when he's in the province, as well as the person who was running the project, Gerald Khumalo. He was always engaging in that line. I mean, sometimes you'll come with the National Commissioner, they will have meetings, even if I'm not there. But he always engaged in that fashion, even if he does it outside the IMC. But he always followed that chain of command. So I do not know, maybe he was privileged to understand because he was a police commissioner to understand the chain of command that maybe Minister Mkhwanazi did not understand. But that's just an example of how we were operating all the time without problems. And I'm sure even if it was a time for such a disestablishment of this team, during that time, perhaps General Celo would have taken it through the IMC to say, we started this, it's gone this far, we don't see much of this thing happening anymore. Let's approach the president and disestablish this the responsibility that was given to us by the president, and I'm sure they will have done it in a correct channel.
Okay. Then you are having provincial commissioners under the national commissioner. Then yourself, you had to report to the national commissioner about how the PKTT was working. And even going to Gauteng, where you sent, you didn't ask any advice, any permission from the IMC. Police were sent because of the agreement from the national commissioner and yourselves when the provincial commissioner of Gauteng wanted to be assisted.
That's correct. When there was a call for the members to be assisted, it only had to end with the National Commission because it was an operational thing.
Then in yourself, the role of the IMC, in your understanding or see it in practical terms now, you are having the national commissioner responsible for the PKTT, which you are nearer to it than the IMC, its role, having the national commissioner. I know the minister will play an oversight over the national, but having the IMC established specifically for political killings.
Yeah, well, I guess the presence of the IMC, in a way, took away the authority of the executive authority of the minister over the police, because then the work that the team was doing was to account to this group of ministers, with or without the Minister of Police presence. So any other minister will chair that meeting, that IMC, and we must account to that minister on what we're doing as a police. And the minister, together with his colleague, they will take that information to the president. So that is what, that's a setup that was created. So the national or the Minister of Police cannot claim to be the owner of such an operation. So the action of Minister Mkhwanazi was flawed in relation to that. It missed that part.
Because to me, if you're saying that they took the powers of the Minister of Police, but the IMC was chaired by the Minister of SAPS.
Yeah, it was chaired by the Minister of SAPS. But once it becomes an IMC, it becomes a group of ministers that those that must execute must account to all of them. Honorable Chair and members, maybe I must also indicate how we structured in the organization. There's a cluster, which is called the JCPS cluster. And when we operate within that cluster, we get directives that are coming from the cluster. So once a cluster, through the Joint Operation Intelligence structure, issues a directive, you will find a letter that is signed by maybe the Commissioner of Correctional Service or the Chief of the Army that directs the police to do A to Z. It's carrying that badge of JCPS. The police must do that. You're not going to say, no, this is not a national commission, you're not going to do it. Because we understand that it's a cluster that is given the tasking, that you must execute this specific task. So when you look at part of the example as we are discussing this, the annexure on this statement, volume 2, in your folders, just to emphasize the point, perhaps it might be visible, I'm not so sure. No, it's not visible. The presentation that is sitting on this, I think it was extracted, and there's some pictures that I wanted the members to see, which are not visible on this presentation. But the presentation that we were giving all the time as we summarize the work of the team on NSM4 on page 32. Oh, no, sorry. That presentation is for the one of portfolio committee. My mistake. I will find the one perhaps in some of the example of the presentation we'll give to the IMC. Every time we give the presentation to IMC, we're going to put the coat of arms, then we're going to put the national flag on top of the presentation. That is an indication that the presentation is not for the SCPS, but the presentation is for a cluster. So when you see in the cluster working arrangement, the presentation made, it does not reflect one department. It covers all the departments. You sometimes going to find the SSA badge in there, the defense badge in there, and many other departments that are involved, NPA and so forth. That's what you're going to find all the time. So once you see that, then you get to know that this is not one department's project, but it's a combination. We've been doing those type of presentation all the time, and that's how we structure it. If we do the police thing alone, we put a police badge. So that gives an indication, where does this one belong? So I guess if the minister had been privy to that, had called for a presentation, we were going to give him a presentation that has got multiple badges in it. And that was going to be a signal to him that this is not SAPS thing alone, it's for the collective. So he will have gone back to his colleagues to discuss the disestablishment.
Okay. Having the IMC and the Minister of SAPS chairing that IMC, playing an oversight role to the PKTT through the National Commissioner. So you're saying that he shouldn't have given a directive to the National Commissioner to say that disestablish this PKTT. You're saying that he was not supposed to do that, even though you know that he's playing an oversight role through that IMC, his sheriff, so that he reports to the IMC.
That's correct, Honorable Chair and members. I think I found what I wanted to make an example on. If you go to volume 3 of the annex on your folders, and you check Annex MK5, there under NSM3, on the volume 3, it's written 3.1 on the annex there, page 151. And it starts from there and it runs to, there are quite a number of pages of this presentation, I think ends at 170. So if you look at that presentation there, you'll see that there is a badge of the South African Police Service as well as the badge of the NPA. That's what I was talking about earlier. So that the moment you have a presentation that is going to have more than one badge,
Okay.
then you must know this doesn't belong to one entity. It's a combination. So that this is a typical example of how we present.
Then the last question that I asked, this one of the minister doing an oversight role and the interministerial committee playing an oversight role over the PKTT, then they decide, the ministers decide to disestablish the PKTT, gives that directive to the National Commissioner. Are you saying that he was not supposed to do that, even though he's playing an oversight role? I know you have said that the PKTT was the decision of the National Commissioner. Then now the minister comes in and says, no, we should stop with the PKTT, as he's playing an oversight role. He was not supposed to do that.
That is correct, honorable members, honorable chair and honorable members. I did indicate again on that NSM 3 on my statement that I deposed at the commission that the PKTT was just but one of the task teams that we had in the South African Police Service. And for the minister to choose only one team, and it decides that that team does not add any value in the policing in the country, was questionable right at the onset. So if the minister is honest, he should come here and explain why did he choose only this one. Doing his oversight as an executive authority over the South African Police Service, was he aware of the rest of the task team that existed? And if so, how did he get to know? Did he receive any presentations about each one of them? Did he assess the budget that was used by each one of them and how they're operating each one of them? And before he makes a decision that this one must be shut down. I mentioned the number of example of some of the national teams that were working in the province, in the country at the time when the minister took this decision, that this was not the only one that was operating, but I will find an example on my statement where I can make a reference to. So I still strongly believe that exercising oversight over the South African Police Service as a minister by deciding to disestablish the PKTT was not a decision informed by the performance of the team, was not a decision informed by the assessment that the minister has done over the work, was not informed by the people that allegedly informed the minister, the Merity House, the members that shared information, was not informed by that.
So immediately after the disestablishment of the PKTT, what happened to the IMC?
The IMT stopped meeting in September 2023. It has never met to date. Perhaps, honorable chair and members, that seems to be part of the challenges which shouldn't be there, but it is there. That the executive authority of departments are appointed by the leaders, be it a premier in the province, be it the president at national level. But those are the members that are coming from political parties. And their presence in those offices are dependent on the political parties or those individuals that appointed them. Now, if it then so happens that you go through elections and there's new government that is formed and the new leadership is appointed, the one that will have occupied the position of that executive authority of a department, by the time that the parliament is dissolved, that person is sitting in limbo because he's got no authority over the department and sit and wait like the rest of us watching television, hoping and praying that the president is going to appoint that person back into the position again. If it doesn't happen, that the person is appointed again as a minister of police, like in this case, I think the last day the minister of police will have left office is before the announcement of the president. That will be the last time the president, when the parliament is, when the parliament is dissolved, that person is no longer in the police, will have left with his bags. And when if it doesn't come back, and a new individual comes back, and there's no handing over that is done. The outgoing does not sit with the incoming and they sit down and they work on the program and they get to be briefed. To some degree, we might expect that from coming from different political parties. But the hatred within the same party is that bad that the outgoing doesn't even, the incoming doesn't want to hear anything about the outgoing. He doesn't want to listen to him or meet with him, doesn't want to even work with the staff that comes from that one. So they basically, now some of them don't even want cars, Doesn't matter whether the car is driven 10,000 kilometers. They don't want to sit in the furniture. They don't want anything to do with the outgoing. They start their own things afresh. I think that disconnect creates problems like this. Because then the incoming executive authority, the ministers that took responsibility of the former ministers, maybe some of them are not even aware that there was such an IMC that existed. Because there was no handing over done. You'll ask different ministers of correctional service, justice, and all the others. They might tell you, we don't know anything about IMC you're talking about. Nobody told us about it. Otherwise, we would have met if we knew about it. If they did, maybe they met somewhere else, but not in an official place where we expect them to meet, where we're supposed to be part of that meeting and give them presentation. So that's where the challenge and that's where the risk is. I don't know what Parliament is going to do about that, but that's part of the problem.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, General. Let me stop there because I don't want you to go further to say that the ministers do this and that. Thank you, General.
Thank you.
Can I ascertain something with you? Are you stopping or are you saying my questions are ending here?
For now, they are ending here.
Okay.
When you give me, I'm an alternate. You know the alternate, Chair.
No, it's not how we agreed. It's not how we agreed. If you have exhausted your questions, we pass.
I've exhausted as of now.
It must be very clear. Your time has not ended. Your questions have ended. Is that so?
Yeah, I'm okay.
So we move. And this must be the understanding, honorable members. If we allocate your time and your questions get exhausted before the time that has been allocated, we don't have time storage here. Yes, that's how we must understand it. So that somebody must not come back and say, I have invested time with you, Chairperson, and can I now get my investments? I'm moving forward to the MKP. Honorable Sangwen.
Chairperson, I don't want to misunderstand you. And then we come back and we do exactly what you say we must not do. Can we at this point...
But on a point of order, Chair, she's not going to behave like that. We're not in a house here. She has to be recognized by you. She can't just take a mic and speak.
Yes, I said...
no, Chair,
I said, Honorable
No,
Sangwen.
I didn't do that.
I lifted my hand. The
No.
chairperson
No,
recognized
no,
me.
no, no,
I
no.
proceeded to
This
speak.
comradeship is not going to work here. There's a procedure here.
Malema, the name of Honorable Sangwen was called by me as the chair to say Honorable Sangwen, and I respectfully request you to apologize to the female comrade.
I was going to do that, but you can't point the finger at me and say you must apologize, and then you take that instruction. It doesn't work like that. Do point the finger at me and say you must apologize.
No. Let's do it out of revolutionary consciousness.
But Mdu must apologize to me first.
To say the struggle that we pursue
I withdraw, I apologize.
is about the recognition of women and their emancipation.
Thank you, Honorable Malema. I appreciate the apology.
Wait, Honorable Sangwen. Yeah. Okay. I now recognize you.
Thank you very much, Chair. No, you said that we are not, you don't have a storage of time. Now, I just want to confirm that as we stop at this point as the African National Congress and are going to come back, what is the time at this point? So we don't fight with you about that later.
I allocated you 1 hour plus 10 minutes. The 1 hour plus 10 minutes is for 2 full members of the ANC plus 1 alternate. Chief Whip.
No, Chair, I think we would like to help you because earlier on when you were explaining the allocation of time, I even whispered to some of my colleagues that no, he's making a mistake. This is how we understand the time allocation. The ANC has got 2 hours, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Each one of us, except one of my colleagues, has got 30 minutes. What has happened now, in our understanding, is that one member that qualifies for 30 minutes and one member that qualifies for 10 minutes have participated in the discussion. And what we thought you are going to then say is that on the basis of the 30-minute plus 10-minute of the ANC that were supposed to be utilized by the 2 members, this is where we currently stand in terms of the time allocated to the African National Congress. But when you say you are allocating now 3 speakers to the ANC, because when you say it's an hour and 10 minutes, you are effectively telling the ANC that out of your 4 members plus 1, 3 of them, you want them to speak now. And that is not the understanding that we hold. And that is why we want to suggest to you, Chair, that at the moment, let's accept that 30 minutes and 10 minutes of the ANC has been utilized to the extent that the minutes were used. You now proceed to other political parties, but the ANC will have to work out with you. If you don't keep a storage, we keep a storage. How much of the 40 minutes was used by the 2 members, and therefore the balance of which will be addition to the 3 other members of the ANC, including you, who are yet to come back late. Thanks.
Okay. The 4 members of the ANC in this committee include me as your chairperson. So on the ground, you have 3 full members. And when I started, I said I'm allocating you 1 hour plus 10 minutes. And I said I'm going to split your allocation in 50%. So, and I gave the same example with the MKP to say, they have 1 hour plus 10 minutes, I'm going to give them 40 minutes. So they will have the last 30 minutes in the second round. And so in your case, as the ANC, you have 1 hour now plus 10 minutes in the first round, and 1 hour in the second round. So now if for instance, you don't want to use your 30 minutes now, or you are not ready, you make a request to the chair to say, look, we acknowledge that you have allocated us. We humbly request that let's keep that 30 minutes. We will come and use it. We will indicate to you, so that the meeting must proceed. Is that your request? Yeah, if there has been a misunderstanding, I'm sorry for that misunderstanding, but I will reasonably accept your request to say, let's now proceed to the MKP.
Yes, Chair, please accept our humble request that we defer the remaining time to later. Thanks.
And let's make it a practice that any member who wants to make a request like that one, it is acceptable, so that it must not become unjustifiable. Okay, the MKP. Let me say this to you, it's now 10:40. Can I check, are you going to speak, the 3 of you, in the 40 minutes allocated?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, you will decide how you allocate the time between yourselves. but your time is 40. Honorable Skosana,
Yes,
your time is 40
minutes, yes.
minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning once again to General Mkhwanazi, the Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal. We are blessed to have you say here among us. You know, it reminds me of our president of Umkhonto weSizwe Party when he said, "Abanye bayokhala." I don't want to put it in English. Ngizoyibika njengesizulu. You'll interpret if you have to. Abanye bayokhala. I want to emphasize that once again. Let me start my questions to the general. You know, I've listened vividly yesterday here. Explosive stuff about what is happening in this country. I'm going to ask the general 4 questions, not 2. You know, I think it will be much easier for me to be able to complete as quickly as I can. 1, were you informed by senior police that the president is not happy about the task team drama and wanted clarity? I'm not sure whether that will be from you or from the National Commissioner. Perhaps the general can give us a clarity on that. I just want to find out about the presence of an elected person like Brian Mkhwanazi in a secret service meeting. What is your take on that, General? Number 3, if you remember well, I know this is a national issue of Senzo Meyiwa, that one of your colleagues, you know, perhaps it will be proper as well if he's here, one perhaps can pose that question. One accusing that Senzo Meyiwa case was charged and sentenced and given bail committed for murder. Who's magistrate and which law did they apply to give such a criminal a bail? As I said earlier, a disclaimer, perhaps that question would be good as well for the NPA to respond on these matters. Why was General Sibia promoted to a senior position, even though there was a complaint that he procured a device that hacked phones for private purpose?
All right, thank you so much, Honorable Chair and honorable members. The last question, I think, is better be directed to the National Commissioner as well as the former Minister Cele, who I think were involved in the appointment of a person into the regarding the magistrate that granted bail to one of the accused in the Senzo Meyiwa case. Honorable Chair members, I said yesterday I'm not a lawmaker, but as we are enforcing the law and trying to satisfy the clients out there, we identify gaps in the legislation. Gaps that if we're to be invited to give our input, we might give input. The unfortunate part, the honorable members might not agree with the inputs we give, because our inputs in the main might be seen as a violation of human rights. We must appreciate the fact that majority of the leaders of our government have made 10 in those walls of prison in the past. Perhaps the recognition of human rights was to try and prevent the experience that some of the leaders had in the past. But in so doing, government opened or made the life of a criminal to be comfortable behind bars. It is the law of this country that allows a person to be treated as innocent until proven otherwise. The mere fact that the very same court will sign off a warrant of arrest of a person get arrested, but the same court then decides a person is got the right to be released on bail. It then defeats the purpose. Because the same court will have signed a warrant of arrest. The same court then says the person must then be released on bail. The freedom that are enjoyed by presiding officers to decide on whether to keep a person in custody or not can, to some degree, contribute to more crime that we're experiencing in the country. So when the presiding officer decided to grant a murder suspect more than one bail, he goes out, he commits another murder, he comes back in. He goes out, he commits another murder, he comes back in. It becomes an unending crime scene that you're dealing with. Honorable Chair members, there are many examples. Police officers can give you a list of them. We had one in KZN where a person was found guilty for 12 years, but wholly suspended. He walked out of the prison doors and he called his friend to have a celebration. When they arrive at home to organize celebration, the victims of that crime visited them while they were having the celebration. They killed 8 people. And the South Africans made noise that so many people killed in KZN, but forgetting that this is the community that decided to take the law into their own hands because the system failed them. When a person is found guilty for 12 years for serious crime, but that all the sentences are suspended, it makes you ask yourself a question. If you've lost a person, you've been raped, you will not accept that. But unfortunately, the law protects the very same perpetrator. It is this House that passes the budget for those that committed crime to be fed in prison and live a luxury life at the expense of the taxpayer. So I'm going to leave it there in as far as the magistrate is concerned. We're safe to challenge the legislature to look at the powers given to the magistrates to decide on punishments. Perhaps we might want to employ a different method of deciding on matters of this nature. My take in the presence of Mr. Brown in SAPS meetings, my take in Mr. Brown having access to police matters, presentation of crime intelligence and so forth, it's a violation of the very same security that you want to protect as the police. The safety of the citizen, that the Minister of Police is given a responsibility to ensure that is provided to the citizens, is violated if we invite people that have got no authority to be part of the security architect of government to play part. So this is the highest infiltration you can think of, well, all the time we've been saying a political party, because he had claimed to be a politician. The minister himself claimed to be his comrade. I believe when you say comrade, it means he's a member of his political party. Although surprised of late to learn that actually he's not a member of that political party. So I do not know the word comrade where it came from when the minister said he was a comrade, because it means he was a comrade, because it means the minister invited a person who's got no political standing to even be involved in policing matters. And that is a serious concern. It's part of the reason why I wanted to address it with the minister, because it's going to have serious consequences going forward. I was not informed about the president's take in terms of the unhappiness with regard to the PKTT, but I want to invite the honorable member to go on YouTube and go and listen to the president when he recently, after my press briefing, when he visited Northern Cape and he made a press briefing there. And he was asked by journalists this question about his views on the PKTT. His words was, the PKT is doing a very good job. So if it comes from the head of state after my address that the PKT is doing the good job, then I wonder which president that the minister is talking about. Because the president recently said the PKT is doing a good job. So it makes me believe the president was not even aware about what the ministers decided back in December. Thank you so much.
Thank you. General, I just want to find out as well, generals, about individuals within IDEC and perhaps the mandate of ID and IDEC, because recently there was an allegation on the media that there's an imminent arrest of the National Commissioner and yourself by IDEC. And I just want to find out, the mandate of IDEC and ID in your understanding. And there are individuals who are being quoted, which I think there'll be witnesses here as well. Maybe you know them, because most of them, we are told, are coming from KZN. Brian Padiache, you've spoken about him yesterday here. And I'm not sure whether General Moodley has resigned now or is still within the police in KwaZulu-Natal. Dylan Perumal, Sunel Pulchen, and Nico Williams. And the prosecutor known famously known as Prosecutor Shabalala, who's prosecuting in different areas, in the Eastern Cape, in Gauteng as well, moving with the task team, guided by the task team, special task team. Now, my question to you, General, I'm not sure whether are you aware of this. As you said, perhaps because I'm giving names here, because that's for, it's in the public domain, that those are the members who are rogue in IDEC. And perhaps, do you know any rogue unity as well within South African Revenue Service, as well, working with some of the crime intelligence police officers? In one area, General, there's Captain Pele, who was convicted from the crime intelligence service in KwaZulu-Natal. And he was reporting to Colonel Zulu. Zulu was reporting to General Moodley. There was a misrepresentation of facts when they were giving a designated judge in terms of these communication, backing some telephone numbers. In one of those telephone numbers which they backed, they will back someone using somebody's telephone. When I'm saying representation, in one of those cell phone numbers, they were using then former minister and former National Commissioner General Qele's number. And Qele was convicted. Captain Qele was convicted for 3 years, but it was suspended. So he was still within the police force of KwaZulu-Natal. I'm not sure now in the criminal intelligence whether he's still in the police or has he resigned, or because he was convicted. I think it would have been perfect, for SAPS to decide what would they do with that. Now, have you noticed this trend of IDEC, prosecutors and investigators, taking matters before specific magistrates for a purpose of signing warrants, bail applications, and trial? In particular, in these 3 provinces, KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, and Gauteng, is the provincial commissioner aware of that? I understand that you are provincial commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal, but some of the incident started when you were still an acting national police commissioner. I know it's long ago. My last, in the 4, I'll just check time whether I'm still within my time. You referred to the Northern Cape when the president was asked about the question of the PTT. In your view, has the president in his constitutional power as an ultimate authority over the system, will you agree that he has failed to act, which that makes him complicity by omission and warrants a criminal inquiry into this executive interference by the special lift minister, Senzo Mkhunu? What would be your take on that? In the light of these revelations that classified briefing were photographed and sent to the civilian close to the minister, should the commander-in-chief, being the president, be held personally answerable for failing to safeguard this national intelligence? Thank you, General.
Thank you so much, Honourable Member. I did not necessarily get some of the questions that you were asking, but the last one, where you are seeking my opinion about the President's response on the issues that were presented on the 6th of July, I've said yesterday, you asked me about police management and how to deal with things in the police. I can answer. But you ask about the management of the country. I might have my own opinions, but I'm not in that position to be able to say this, what the president should have done, and this, what he shouldn't have done. I've not been exposed to that level of what it takes to run a country. So it's going to be difficult for me to say, is the action of the president establishing the Madlanga Commission the right thing or not? I don't know. Is it the right thing that the parliament is doing, establishing a set committee or not? I don't know. So I cannot express my opinion. Yes, I'm a citizen. So express my opinion as a citizen of the country that participate in elections. But as an official of government, as a disciplined police officers, the president remains the commander-in-chief. He remains my commander. If I have issues with him, I need to find a way through my commanders to address with him. So in this instance, about the challenges we're facing, I went through the National Commission to try and reach out to the president. Never went to the president directly myself. So that is where, as far as I can go. So I cannot express opinion on whether he knew and what did he know and how did he react. That's why I was making a reference to his address in Kimberley, if I'm not mistaken, after my address, where he said to the media that the PKTT is doing a good job in KZN. So that made me believe that he is not necessarily in favor of the decision that was taken by the minister in December last year. I'm told about the advocate of the NPA that works very close in dealing with the cases that are within the IPID as well as the cases that are within IDEC. But I like to believe that maybe the national director of the prosecution will be invited to come and explain more about the jurisdiction of that prosecutor, whether he is authorized to work like that or not. I cannot talk on behalf of the NPA. Safe, honorable chair and members, to mention that the very same national director of public prosecution went on the national TV where she said there are bad things happening within the NPA. Maybe she did not have the energy or the courage to drop names and tell who is doing what where, but she mentioned that. So perhaps if she comes here, she might want to elaborate that in details, who is doing what within the NPA. The Cele that you are referring to, honorable member, that was convicted, I don't have the details. Maybe if you finish me with the details of that Cele, I might be able to investigate so that I can be able to give a full briefing as to the whereabouts of that Cele, if it's still within the service or not in the service anymore. The members of the SAPS that are going to be coming here, if the member comes from KwaZulu-Natal and comes to this portfolio committee, is invited by this portfolio committee, I must know about it. If I don't know about it, it could be one of the two things. Either that member coming here works for the national divisions that are based in KZN. In that case, I'm not responsible for their movements. I wouldn't know about where they're going at any given time. On two scenarios, that if the member comes there and yet he works under my command in KZN, it could be the member that is coming here unauthorized if I have not given a permission because I have not been informed. Or it's a member that would have traveled here during his or her spare time. In such a case, I don't have any say as to where the member's going. So I wouldn't really know who are the members that are invited, but a Major General Motley that you made a reference to, I know at one stage he was dismissed from the service recently and he made an appeal in court, and I think his dismissal was overturned. I don't know what's the status because I'm not in that space of intelligence. I like to believe you are referring to General Motley from Crime Intelligence. The General Motley from Crime Intelligence used to work in KZN. Honorable Chair members, I spoke about what happened in 2011 when one was given a privilege of managing the organization at the national level. Major General Motley was one of the subjects of investigation where General Khumalo was a brigadier then, responsible for counterintelligence. He was accused of many things. One of them, honorable chair and members, and I spoke about this yesterday, that there's so many wrong things. One of the examples I'm going to cite now that you're mentioning the name is that a police officer will own a farm. They're working in the farm. And all those people that are working in the farm, they get registered in the police as agents. And they draw the salary every month from the secret fund account to pay for their employment in the farm. That's a typical example of what we're dealing with in 2011 that has not stopped to date. General Motley was one of the implicated people in that. So I know of a General Cele as a former National Commissioner of the Police, the Minister of Police, not the captain that you are referring to, whose number, cell phone number, was included in the application that was submitted to the judge, where the request was to listen to these phone numbers by Crime Intelligence as they were running an operation. The judge needed to approve that you have this case that you're investigating, you are giving an authority for this period to monitor the communications on these phones. General Cele's number was included by the members of Crime Intelligence, of which the head of the investigation team, where Gerald Kumalo and the team are arrested, was accused of when he was at Crime Intelligence. He was part of the people suspected to be involved with that. And it's part of the things we're trying to clean out at the time at Crime Intelligence. But unfortunately, when the new leadership came in 2012, we were pushed aside. Those things were not finalized. At the time, Gerald Mkhwanazi was suspended by myself. But when I moved out of the position, he was transferred from Durban. He went to work at the head office in Pretoria. And he's been working there ever since. So, Honorable Chair members, I do hope that as we're engaging, we are showing some of deficiencies that exist in the system, which require the serious interrogation, because it doesn't start now. It started way back, and it's still happening now. The police leadership will sit in a place like this to come and account before the Portfolio Committee on Police. The chairperson sitting on top will receive information from members from Crime Intelligence, and should take that information and pass it to the honorable member across to attack the police management this side. We have the facts on those. But we couldn't clean those things up, and they are still happening today. So I'm not sure if there's any question that I've missed on that, honorable member.
Nope, you haven't missed anything, General. Let me just conclude my last 4.5 minutes by saying I'm happy that the issue as well that Peggy Cele requested a police. I just want to have your take on that. Who was investigating serious cases of political killings, which my counterpart will deal with that, be released of his duties to join him in Gauteng and abandon serious cases. Was that the right decision? Was it allowed? And why was it allowed, if it's allowed? I'm not sure, General, whether it's proper for us to say, to demand audit of the Secret Service accounts. Maybe not in our portfolio committee, perhaps on another portfolio committee of intelligence, but I'm talking about crime intelligence, which I think, I might be wrong, that within us, in the police portfolio committee, that we have to have that. We must demand that, and I'm happy that our chair is here. But I just want to take, to get an advice from you. What would be your take on that? Because yesterday in your presentation was that there's too much power invested in one person, the National Co-Commissioner. Perhaps it will be proper for us to reconfigure the police now. As you said, that the population has grown, there's more challenges in this country. Maybe the provincial commissioners or provinces must have a certain powers to deal with matters of police, which us as lawmakers, I think we have to consider that, your proposal which you've made yesterday. But I supported that when I look at it, and I think it will work wonders. Because as you said now, sitting here, that all the powers are invested in one individual, which might be a risk for the country. And I want to say that on that one, I'm giving you a thumbs up. As Mkhwanazi says, I think we spoke about that and said, perhaps we have to lobby other parties to have that done. The other issue, I'm not sure about the cost of taxpayers' money in all these shenanigans which happen, for the Department of PKTT, and the issue, which is very concerning, General, that a private company in this country will be guided by the police and our elite police, the elite special task team, the Richards Bay terminal. And we are very concerned with that, General. I'm not sure what is your take, because the president is involved with that company, alleged, let me put it like that, alleged involved with the Richards Bay, that has got business interests. And that the team was sent there as well without your knowledge. Now, we know what happened in Marikane. When some of the members, executive members, were directors of Lonmin, were killed. The workers, they were killed. But I'm trying to indicate about the issue of Richards Bay, that why are we having our police guarding a private company's interest? My last one, Chair. The issue of Tembisa, the Matlalas and the Mkhwanazi, the 360 million tender, I know it's at the national level, but as you said, you've got your BO, I think you said your BO, the Board of Provincial Commissioners, if I'm right. I'm not sure what was this matter being raised, because the question from the media and from the people of this country, they want consequence management. They are asking themselves, and they are asking us as members, as representative of the people. One question we should have asked, they are asking about why some people are not arrested, like Maumele, who went to court recently seeking to get permission to go abroad to Disneyland with his child. That we are told is one of the big five, and is not arrested. Is roaming freely as if nothing has happened, and someone was killed. No, you are not the chair is out. And it's intimidating me now. And I just wanted to find that from you, Chair. General, through you, Chair, who's absent. And I think I'll come back at a later stage, because I'm a bit worried that Lieutenant General Kumalo was arrested by this infamous, so-called infamous rock team from IDEC. You explained yesterday, and we understood you very well, that there's two divisions within, there's good men and women at IDEC, but there are some of these investigators who retired from South African Police Service. But the funny part, General, I'm not sure whether it's allowed by law. They took dockets to IDEC from the police. They were investigating cases when they were still working in the South African Police Service. They resigned. They went to IDEC. They took dockets to IDEC and harassing people. So my question, is that allowed for a police officer to resign after resigning when he was still investigating cases? Then he took the docket with himself to another state institution. Because IDEC is not, they are accounting to NDPP. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, General. In absentia.
Thank you so much, honorable members. The last part on IDEC, honorable member earlier spoke about the names of members that are working at IDEC that are supposed to be part of the rogue team. And I said earlier, I isolated one, Mr. Padachi. There are many members working there. Yes, some of the names that you mentioned are part of the team, but not all the members that are part of the team are bad members. They are participating, yes, but at least they are the ones that are sharing us information about the rot. Other than that, we would not have known about what's happening inside. Thanks to them. But we'll be able to give you their details when the time is right. We're not going to do it now. Those that are, yes, they are painted back because they're inside, but they are able to tell us about the wrong that is happening inside. So we are happy to have them there so that they pass this information to us and that help us to be able to know what's happening inside IDEC. The status of the case dockets, honorable members, this is not only the problem with IDEC. I think it's some of the things that might need to be looked at, because when the ACPS is brought before the committee to account, we account on case dockets. But once a case docket move over to IPID, on the system remains with ACPS, but ACPS doesn't know what's happening in the docket. It's sitting at IPID, and IPID is not held accountable most of the time because they don't have a system to monitor those dockets. Similar happened to IDEC. IDEC takes the docket away from the police station, and they register a case at the police station, and they take it away and they disappear. It remains open on the system and the police, and it affects the detective performance, and yet that docket sits somewhere else, and it's a responsibility of another entity. So it's some of the controls that might need to be looked at. Yes, DPCI is within the organization, but they also have dockets that are sitting with them that are registered at police stations. And there's no updating of the information sometimes at the station, but at least with DPCI, they have access into the system, so they update the state of the investigation remotely from wherever they are having the docket with them, similar to the task teams that they're able to do that. But the entities that are outside the police system, which is IDEC and IPID, we find it difficult in terms of managing the investigation. So it would be easy for a docket that was with IPID originally, we know that it's with IPID, for that docket to have moved from IPID to IDEC, and we all know about it because it was anyway outside the police control. So it's some of the challenges that we will want to fix. The issue of General Kumalo of KZN, Major General Kumalo, together with General Cele matter, I think I spoke about it yesterday, that General Kumalo did not resign from the police, and therefore General Cele did not get his way. The General Cele will come here and he will confirm that I was not very pleased with what he attempted to do at the time. So I think that matter we can close it like that because it never went anyway. Yes, I did highlight the issue of RPM in KZN. Honorable Chair members, yeah, when I mentioned the issue of RPM is because I wanted, as I was asked, to give a background by the members that I was accused of having stopped them from doing their work, whether these members were under my control or not, and how they came about to be in KZN, and what were they doing in KZN. That's why I ended up talking about this. I still believe that the leadership of the police, the National Commission, or who else that deployed them, why was I not part of it? Honorable Chair members, the Constitution of the Republic and the Police Act only makes reference to two individuals to be in charge of the service. The National Commissioner, as appointed by the Constitution as well as Police Act. The National Commissioner appoints the Provincial Commissioner, also recognized by the Constitution and confirmed by the Police Act. Those are only two. And the rest of the people that, or employees that we have in the organization are referred to as members. So when you have the system designed by the constitution like that, and which similar happens in parliament, you have a minister who's a cabinet member, then you have the president. Yes, the president appoints deputy ministers, but we've seen it many times. When a minister is out of the country or is not well, and for whatever good reason, a deputy minister does not act as a minister. Another minister acts. But in South African Police Service, where you have a national commissioner appointed in line with the constitution, and the provincial commissioner appointed in line with the constitution, when a national commissioner is not in the office, a member gets appointed to be acting national commissioner. That's why we are in this dilemma today, because there are so many generals sitting at the head office that are appointed by national commissioners and given portfolio at the national office, and they feel they're too powerful. And that's what contributes to this. The national commissioner goes on holiday in 31st of December. He appoints a member who is a deputy national commissioner as the acting national commissioner, which means by default that person must be in charge of the provincial commissioner. Literally, that's what it means. Is that what the constitution envisaged? Is that what the act envisaged? I'm not a legal person to answer the question, but the national commissioner appoints in black and white and say you are the acting national commissioner for a period, I'm not in the office. Then you're going to find that that acting person will end up sitting in meetings. The POC that you're talking about, the Board of Commissioners, is a structure that is catered for in the legislation between, and is explicit, between the national commissioner and the provincial commissioners. Nobody else. But I invite you to go and see the minutes of the POC in the police. There's 9 provincial commissioners and 1 national commissioner. That makes 10. But there's more than 10, 11, 12 lieutenant generals that are sitting at the head office. They are part of this POC. So whatever is discussed at the POC is dominated by these generals at the head office. I know that because I come from there. I was part of those. So the voice of the provincial commissioner gets silenced in such meetings. You don't have a voice much at that POC. You might say something, but the divisional commissioner is influenced the national commissioner, or the DNC has decided. So therefore, we must follow the line. So it's part of the problems that we have in this organization. So I hope if those things are introduced, then we're not going to have a deployment of members that are coming to the province that the provincial commissioner doesn't know about, to avoid the RPM things. Because ultimately, the provincial commissioner must be accountable for what's happening in the province. And the constitution says the provincial commissioner must engage with the executive authority of the province. And in order to satisfy the communities of that province, we have to find a way of making some amendments in the legislation so that we empower such to be done at the provincial level. Honorable member, you spoke earlier about the IDEC and the powers that they have. I think the Amendment Act of the NPA, if I'm not mistaken, it should be in section 7 somewhere about. It's outlined what the IDEC is supposed to be investigating. But the first part is that they're dealing with serious and complex cases. And then they list type of charges related to that seriousness, fraud, corruption, and so forth. Act of dishonesty is also written somewhere there. So I like to believe that if you take that which is in a section of the NPA Amendment Act and you look at what IDEC is doing currently and balance the two, you're going to find gaps. That surely IDEC, whatever cases they have before them, might not necessarily fulfill that which that section on the Amendment Act was envisaged. So if that happens, then you might need to ask yourself a question as a legislature whether did you take the right decision to establish this entity? Or else maybe you might want to look at taking these powers you gave to this entity back to the DPCI and you look at how do you empower the DPCI to be fully in control and independently so to be able to prosecute these cases. Because a typical example, if a police officer wants to come and search your house, an investigator is going to make a submission to the prosecutor will sign off and give it to the magistrate will authorize a warrant for that to happen. But at IDEC, at NPA, that doesn't happen. The prosecutor that is part of the investigation signs this thing and they go straight to your house to come and search. They don't go via all these other people. It might be quicker to resolve problems, but there's an abuse of the system that is built into that, which I wanted the committee to look at. I hope this is just about everything you've asked.
Thank you, General. Chair, you were out and I've abused you a bit, but thank you so much, General. I think the only last thing which perhaps my question on that was your take, but I think you closed it nicely because I was asking whether is it right that perhaps these functions of IDEC, some of them, or in fact disband that IDEC and have all these things back to the SAPS. I think you it's upon us, but thank you, Chair.
Honorable Nomvalo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to members of the ad hoc committee. And good morning, Shamas. My first question relates to a letter.
You say good morning, what?
Shamas. It's Tagazel.
Oh.
Yes.
No. I have been addressing you as Charlie. It's not something unfamiliar. I just wanted to understand and know so that I can use it as well. In future. Thank you so much. Shamas.
The first question I have, Chair, relates to a letter dated the 31st of December 2024, which was written by the Minister to disband the political killings task team. Now, in the last paragraph of the letter, the Minister says, the final and closing report must be submitted to the Ministry Management Executive Committee meeting late January 2025, the date of which will be communicated as soon as possible. Following from that, was that report submitted according to your knowledge, Shamase? Was it submitted to the Minister?
I was informed that it was submitted.
Do you know the content of the letter? Are you aware of what was entailed in the letter that was submitted to the Minister?
No, I'm not privy to such a communication. I've not seen it.
Okay. Secondly, I want to get the correct sequence of events here. My understanding is that under normal circumstances where there is no political killings task team, dockets which relate to criminal matters are stored in the police stations under the supervision of the investigating officer. Now, this political killings task team was established in 2018 when the scourge of political killings was rife already in KZN. Was the political killings task team only dealing with cases which were reported to it, or there are cases which they took from the police stations which were already reported prior to their establishment? That is my first question. You can answer, General.
Yeah, the team, when it started, I think I will have explained it somewhere that when it started, it had a number of cases that were already registered, that they took over. That obviously those dockets will have been at the police stations that were given to the team when it started. And as the team was working, the team also will have generated new cases that will have happened if there's an incident that happens and the case is open, that case gets transferred to the task team. And in other instances, you're going to have parallel investigations that will be, while the team is investigating one case, and they discover that that case has got a linkage, or the suspect they're looking for has got a linkage into another case. And then they go and request that that case be brought in. And made to this one, just so that the chances of conviction can be improved. So that's a variety of dockets that the team was handling. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, no, you have answered it adequately. And then the minister was appointed in July as the minister 2024, and the letter was issued on the 31st of December. (2024). So the conclusion from that is that the period between the assumption of responsibility by the minister and the decision that was taken was 6 months. Between that period, did the minister ever summon a report of these dockets to have an understanding of what is happening and to have an understanding of progress that has been made? Have you ever had a meeting, if not you, the national, according to your knowledge, if not you, the national commissioner, with the minister, wherein the dockets were a subject matter?
Honorable Chair and members, the only engagement we've ever had with the Minister of Police is when the Minister was appointed as a Minister of Police. We were all invited in Pretoria where he gave the Minister a presentation. But in that presentation, there was nothing talking about task teams at all. And that was the only closest engagement we've ever had with the Minister where he briefed him about the state of policing. So when the decision was taken about the disestablishment of this PKTT, we hadn't had any opportunity to engage with the minister. At least I know myself, I was not invited to meet with him. And later I learned that from the National Commissioner himself also did not have an opportunity to talk to him about it, neither General Kumalo. But when you read what the minister is saying on his letter, is that he's been briefed. So when the minister has been briefed, it simply says someone told the minister that this team must be disestablished. So it is that someone that I believe drafted that letter. And I can speculate, I can assume as to who the person could be. Why will I assume is because I've got evidence that junior members of the South African Police Service are communicating with the executive on how they must manage the National Commission. You will have a General Spear sending a WhatsApp to the Deputy Minister of Police. I don't know who's the Deputy Minister. I'm still investigating that part. But he will send this WhatsApp message and tell the Deputy Minister, make suggestion, the Deputy Minister, you must hold the National Commission accountable with this and that and that. And you will further say, I've even shared these things with comrades so and so. These are General Spear writing messages to the Deputy Minister. And I told the two Deputy Ministers when we met with the acting minister recently, that one of you is part of the problem. I just don't know yet who, but one of the deputies is part of this problem. And so I said it in their face, they can't deny it, they'll confirm. I have WhatsApp messages, therefore we are part of the investigation, we'll establish who is this deputy minister. But that's just a typical example. I don't think I've shared with the members. I don't know if you have that WhatsApp. SC, I did communicate with yourself about this one. I don't think we presented, because I can show you as an example of how General Spear sends communications to deputy ministers and about issues that he's supposed to address with the National Commission, but he addressed it with the deputy minister. So the deputy minister must come back and make the National Commission to account on it. So if you want to, maybe you can flight it on the screen if need be, because I do have some of these WhatsApp messages. That the fortunate part, he did not just send it to the deputy minister, he also forwarded this message